So as always, I'm recording this on my break, so I'm going to keep this really brief. Um, I want to talk about I have managed and led big teams of people. I have led teams of people for the last. I started leading a team in um, in 2015 was when I had my very first team where I was the boss and the line manager to manage different people. One of the first things that hit me with managing a team is that it's kind of like having kids. So people who have kids will tell you that no two children are the same, right? Even when they are twins. The personality always seems to affect the way that they see the world, the way they view authority, the way they see guidance, the way that they react to correction. And that's exactly what I find with leading big teams. Some of the people are very easy to lead, right? Some people are motivated, self motivated. They like the work that they do. They are motivated to come to work every day. So those ones are I call them very low maintenance people, right? They are the good children. They do what they're supposed to do on time. They go to work on time. Their attendance, capability, and competence, it's all 100, right? You don't have a problem with those ones. The danger that you have as a manager is that for the good children, let's stop calling them children, for the employees that self-manage themselves and are low maintenance and you don't need to do very much, right? They will be at work when they should be at work. They are not going to be late. They're going to get the work done. If you give them a deadline, they're going to do it. They're going to do good quality of work. So on all fronts, they are just really good. What you tend to do as a manager is to say, well, this is what we expect from people to do, so I don't need to give them any further attention. You want to sort of step away and give them, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to get in the way of a good thing, right? So they are doing well on their own. So I'm not going to step in there and try to interrupt their flow, sort of thing. So you think you're being a good manager by giving them more freedom and, you know what I mean, just allowing them to do their thing. The danger with that is that they are very good at what they do today, but are they equipped for the future? As a good manager, you have to not only be concerned about how well somebody is doing at the current job they're doing today, but you have to align their capabilities today to their ambitions for tomorrow. You have to once in a while, especially for the good ones who don't give you any issues, take the extra time that they have been able to give you, because now that you don't have to micromanage them, you don't have to correct them, you don't have to redo their work, you don't have to ask where they are. You can convert that time into adding value to them, to finding out where their journey is, their career journey is. Find time as against leaving them on their own and not even giving them any attention, which is what even parents do in real life. The good child who self-manages is not oftentimes abandoned, right? He's left on it to his own devices because he's a good child. He's not going to do anything wrong. I have no input to make. He's going to turn out okay. The problem is he may not turn out okay because he's teaching himself. And whatever you think he knows and he's doing well, he will only knows for today. He knows how to be a good child today. But are you preparing to be a good man tomorrow? When the world changes, when your protection is no more there, when there's no dad and mom, sometimes people are good because they know they have a good line manager like you. They know that you're there to catch them if they fall. But do you wait until they then fall, or do you say, look, are there any potential areas where you might fall? Or yes, as I'm sitting here now, let's sit together and use that time you're giving me back to work through where you're going. Let me now start spotting potential pitfalls for you, if that makes sense. But that's for the good ones. Okay, let me not say good or bad. I'm sorry, because all employees are okay, right? Let's not label anyone good or bad. But there are also the employees who they they want to do the right thing, but they don't know how to do the right thing, right? So that those are the ones I call in the middle. Those ones I hold their hands a little more, by my experience, only because I want the quality of the work to be well done. I hold their hands a little more, right? I preempt them. Every time I give them work to do, I'm following up to make sure they will meet the deadlines. I'm sending them 2 reminders between when I give them the work and the day I need the work back. I am asking them to send me a first draft, a second draft, and a third draft because I want to see, before they veer off on a tangent in the opinion I'm asking them to write for me, I want to catch it halfway. That's the sort of intervention as a manager that you find that you have to do for people who, you know, their hearts is in a good place, they just don't know what they're doing, or they don't have the competence to do a good job. You tend to intervene more. But that's not even the problem that many managers face, especially young managers. The first time you become a manager, nobody ever tells you what to expect. They actually tell you to be a good manager. It's almost like you're the problem. So if anything happens in the team that you manage, look inwards, you're always the problem. Nobody tells you about the different kinds of people you're going to meet, the people personalities you're going to meet, how to then adjust and adapt, because that's your job as a manager. Think of yourself as a parent. You never throw away a bad child, and you don't throw away a good child either. You take each child as they come. Your bond to that child is secure. You are the parent. That's not going to change. The child's behavior, competencies, abilities, self-managing abilities, truancy, it's not going to make you stop being the father. You are the father. You have to deal with it, right? It's one is going to stress you, one is going to make you happy. You deal with it as it comes. If you take it like that, and you come in with that mindset, then you find that you don't give up on any of your staff, which is the first thing that I learned. You can't walk away, can't give up. Now, and this is where it's important. Now, there's a third category. They don't want to be at work. They hate the job that they do. They're not self-motivated. They do the absolute bare minimum, and they only do it when they are forced to do it. And even when they are forced to do it, they don't do it well. Which means it's like pulling tooth every single day. Today, their car broke down. They're coming in late. Tomorrow, when you have a very big meeting that you told them 3 months before, and you need all hands on deck to make a presentation to a client, that's the day that their dog has a stomach upset and they can't be at the office. You can't rely on them for anything. They will not send in their work on time. So you're having to pick up the pieces. When you give them something to do, you're already doing the backup for it, right? So you give them something and you say, can I have this by XYZ time? As they walk out the door, you're already doing it yourself, because you already know, they're going to disappoint you. They're not going to do the work. They're going to miss the deadline. And even when they submit the work, it's going to be so bad, you're going to have to redo it. Many people just say that when you meet people like that in your teams, you just fire them, because they're pulling the output of the team down. The productivity of the entire team is affected. You can't manage. So as a boss, you have to be in the right frame of mind and spirit to manage everyone. If you're drained all the time because you're picking up the slack of one of your staff, then the other staff who are doing well and look to you for happy leadership, right, your real work, will suffer. I'm spending hours and hours trying to tidy up from this person. It means that the person who's actually doing the real work and I should be giving attention to and praising and developing never gets that time, because now I've moved that time this way. So one argument of school of thought is you have to weed out those kind of employees very quickly. If they're not motivated and they don't want to be there and they're going to do rubbish and you're going to pick up the pieces all the time, at some point, put them on a performance plan, get them out of the system, put in people who actually want to be there. Always make sure that people that you have on your team, even if they don't know how to do the work, they want to do the work. So those people I said were in the middle are the worst kind of people you must have on your team. The best kind are those who can do it, will do it, want to do it. The ones that want to do it but can't do it are everyone else. You must never have people who don't want to do it, won't do it, and will do it badly, because, as I've explained, it benefits no one. It doesn't benefit the team, doesn't benefit you as a boss. It brings out the worst of you. Eventually, your frustration is going to boil over. But then when I got to the UK, I don't know what the dynamics are in the UK, but then I find that there's a fourth category. So all the categories, these three I've told you about, are people I've often dealt with in my entire career back at home. And I'm talking very senior career, right? Multinational companies, Fortune 500 company. I've never had to deal with a set of people who demean you. So and this is a new category of people that I've only met and had to manage when I got to the UK, right? And it's not once, it's not twice. So I have been in a team myself where I was not the manager and I had a manager. And we were a couple of people. He was managing, I think, 7 of us or whatever it is. 3 of us were older women, right? And it has nothing to do with their gender, it has nothing to do with their age. I'm just explaining the characteristics that I think was similar to 3 of them. They were much, much older. They had been in the service for a very long time. Many of them were ending towards the end of their careers. They were going to retire. My boss at the time is a very young person, very dynamic, came from the private sector. He was bringing in, and that was why he was employed, to juice up the team, right? To bring in private sector expertise, put us on our toes, get us to the right thing. Do you know what I mean? That the kind of culture that leads to heightened productivity was what he was brought in to do, and that's the kind of job he wanted to do. The obstacle that he faced was the constant demeaning of his authority. These people not only did not want to be there, they knew that you couldn't fire them because they were this close to retirement. They knew that their jobs were secure because they knew how the systems worked to avoid you ever. So they do just enough to annoy you. It's almost like they know that if I cross this line, I will get fired. They've been in the system for 20 years. They know how to embarrass their manager. They know how to annoy their manager. They know how to resist doing the work. They know how to be a thorn in his flesh. They know how to be the bad egg in the team. They know how to be the worst behaved. They know how to talk back, but they know how to do it on just to the line where if you report it, it's like, well, it's just a misunderstanding. Oh, well, you have to manage them. Oh, well, do you know what I mean? Like, oh, well, but they are doing the work anyway. The work still got done. And you know they're nearing retirement. And and they always have an excuse. They're like, oh, these new changes are too many. I'm not resisting the work. I'm actually resisting the thinking behind the change. They know how to talk big, so that it always makes the manager feel like even when you know you're being disrespected, you know that they're undermining your authority in front of the others. You know that you cannot get them to do anything. You know that what it leads to is you then taking work away from them, right? Because you try to avoid a situation where you're confronting them all the time. That's all you ever do. You're younger than them, so they think, what do you know? They challenge your authority on everything because they feel like they've always done it in a certain way, and any change is bad change, and they are too old to be made to change. So except you keep giving me the work I've been doing for 20 years and allow me to do it how I've done for 20 years, anything you ask me to do, I'm going to resist it. And I'm going to publicly humiliate you while I'm doing it. Does it make sense? The problem you're going to have as a manager, as a young manager, a younger manager, is that everyone else in the team is watching. So even though I was in a team of 7 people and I was one out of the 7, the way I saw these 3 men treat my manager almost made me lose respect for him. He couldn't stand up for himself. He couldn't fight back. He couldn't report them to HR because, like I said, they are fast talkers. They know the system. They know how far to push it. They have justification for everything they've done, so that it's always twisted in a way that makes it look like, oh, they are just being difficult, but they are not being problematic. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm difficult, but as a manager, you should know how to deal with difficult people. And then I then became a manager. And on the team that I managed, I had two people like that, same characteristics, been there for too long. They thought I was too young. I couldn't possibly know what I was doing. And why would I tell them what to do, blah, 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 blah. What I have learned to do is that 2 things. The natural tendency for a manager in that kind of situation is that they then actually do not give those people work to do. My lights have died. You avoid those people and don't give them any work to do. You emburden the rest of the team, the people who are eager to work with you, the people who are happy that you're there, people who actually respect you and respect your authority. You tend to burden them more with the work. You sort of avoid these people. It's almost like you're working with your grandparents or your parents, right? So you ring fence them from any responsibility. You try to be extra nice to them because you kind of think that you can compensate for the way they are treating you by actually, maybe if I'm nicer, do you know what I mean? Or maybe, sorry about that, maybe if I'm nicer, or maybe if I get them to like me. It's almost like bullying, right? You think that if you appease your bullies, then you can get along with them, and then maybe it's never gonna work. And the more that approach is wrong. So I'm here to tell you that that was what my former boss did, the one I talked about. The more he appeased these women, the more he lost respect from the rest of us. The more he appeased these women, he made them look like they were superior and they were right. The more he appeased them, it made them look as if the lesson he was teaching the rest of us who were watching it was that the only reason why we were getting to do more work was because we were not fighting hard enough and we were not putting our foot down. Excuse me, I have to put on the light. We were not putting our foot down. We were not fighting hard enough. You know what I mean? It was almost like, well, sucks to be you guys. The good ones were the ones being punished for being good people. And that sent a very wrong message. So what I do is I run towards the bully. So when I took up this role and I met people who undermined from the very beginning, one of them literally asked me, we were on break one time, I was walking somewhere, I was going to get lunch, and I met the person at lunch and said to me, why did you take this job? Literally to I don't know you, I've never spoken to you, we're not friends. Just said, why did you take this job? I said, I beg your pardon. She said, no, I don't mean it like in a bad way. Of course she meant it in a bad way. But as always, like I said, they know how to twist it and make it look like they know when they've crossed the line, and then they pull back and justify. She said, no, 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 I'm just saying, because I mean, it's almost like a thankless job, right? I mean, you get to manage a team of people who are experts in what they do. They already know what to do, so they rarely need any help or management or supervision. So it's almost like, what's the point? I looked at her and she finished talking, and I'm like, I actually do like the work. I have managed teams all my life, and there's always, if there was no value to having the position, then the organization would not open up this role, right? So trust me that there's value that I bring to the role, and also I'm looking forward to adding that value to the team, and I'm hoping that in time, in due time, you will see it. This is me asserting myself. You can't bully me. I'm not running away from you. I'm not afraid of a confrontation. And I see what you're doing. After that, at meetings, I'd point them out. The first few times I pointed them out, I would literally call them in the meeting. And I'd say, so XYZ, do you have a point of view? She would be like, no, 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 no. Almost like, they leave me out of all this rubbish. I'm not a part of this whole thing. Did I stop? No, I didn't stop. I didn't. And then she made a mistake one time with something, and I called her out on it. I personally went to her and I called her. She didn't pick it. I rang her on Teams. She didn't pick it. And I sent an email. Starting the email by saying that operationally, it is in polite and 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 I use another word, I can't remember it now. But to say that from an operational perspective, you cannot ignore my calls when I call you. Right? There is an operational reason for every single call that I call you. And I expect that going forward, for team cohesion and productivity, that you will not ignore my calls going forward. Second of all, this is what I was calling you about. Please give me a response by XYZ time. Now, for other people, I wouldn't have been so like pow, pow, pow. I'd have just said, oh, give it to me when you're ready. Because, they're willing, they will do it. But for her, A, I'm not afraid of you. B, right? I'm your boss. I'm exerting my authority. C, I will tell you when I need something back, right? I will call you out if you try to be weird, right? So the pattern of behavior that you've been doing and getting away with, which is that you push your manager, you bully your managers, push them to a point where you frustrate them and hope that they then play nice, capitulate to you, allow you to just get away with anything, and you do your bare minimum and they don't give you any projects to work on because you think they intimidated them enough. It doesn't work on me. In fact, now you're in my sphere. Now you're in my line of sight, right? So now it's almost like you're the bad child, you're throwing truant, and suddenly now I'm giving you all that attention that you're looking for. So now you're going to do a lot of work. I'm going to double down on the things that you're doing. I'm going to double check the quality of your work. I'm going to make sure you're at work on time. I'm going to give you timelines and deadlines. If you don't meet them, there will be consequences. Now you're the special child that gets special treatment. The complete opposite of what many natural bosses would have done, which is katoing, intimidated, let them get away with it. Just leave them in a little corner, let them do their thing. I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And so eventually, when we did this push and pull for a while, and I kept it very professional the entire time, never shared a joke with her, never said anything to her, did not isolate her from the team. I created a team channel so that she got all the information everyone else got. If she reacted to it, that's great. If she didn't, that's fine. You know what I mean? But I didn't slack up on her. I didn't isolate her. I didn't ring fence her. I didn't give her special treatment. I gave her more attention, and I refused to let her bully me. And I exerted my authority as required professionally. And today, she's like the rest of the team. The respect just built naturally. At the last team meeting, she came and helped me to arrange the room for the meeting. She found out that we shared the same interests. She talked about how she feels like she finally opened up about why she resists change so much, how she's had many managers in the past. Nobody actually listens to her. When she says what she thinks the team should be doing, they do the direct opposite and don't do the right thing. And eventually, years later, another manager comes and literally asks us to go back to things we had done 5 years ago that the new manager had said wasn't good enough. She's tired of the flip-flopping in the system. I just listened to her, but I knew that was our connection point. We had finally butt heads to the point where we have decided that we are as strong as each other, right? I am not here to threaten you. I'm not here to make your life miserable. I'm not your former managers. You have to treat me with respect and treat me as my own entity. And I see you as an individual, right? Not as part of a group, not an isolated person, not as somebody who's been there too. She even talked about how they are replacing the older ones like us who have expertise with all these young people who just leave school, they don't know anything, and they ask us to train them, but they don't give us training funds, they don't give us a bonus. I'm forever training new people, and I train this one, and they go and become my manager in another team, and they take a bigger job. And I said, why don't you apply to be a manager as well? If you've been here 25 years, don't you want to be? She said exactly. She doesn't want it, but it's a thankless job. She doesn't want to do. She doesn't want to do anything. She just wants to retire quietly. Blah 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 blah. So that's your frustration. I hear you, right? But my point is, and the whole essence of this video wasn't to bash her. It was to say, as a manager, these are the kinds of people you're going to meet. This is how you have to deal with them. And when you meet this fourth category of people, which I just met when I came to the UK, this is how I've dealt with it, and it has worked, right? It's like meeting a stubborn mule, and eventually the mule comes around, right? Because you don't stand down. Whatever you do not stand down. Do not stand down. But you also have to know what you're doing. You have to know what you're doing. It's not about bragging like you're the boss. You must know what you're doing. They must see that you know their job. Do you know what I mean? So I went back behind her. I researched what she does. I was an expert at every single thing she did. I went and read. It took me weeks. I caught up on what she does. So at the next time I had a meeting with her in a broader team, where she's supposed to be the expert on the topic, as she's talking, I'm talking. As somebody's asking a question, and she's quiet because she doesn't want to, you know how people hoard their expertise. It's almost like, oh, let me show off that I know it. I know you're all waiting for me to answer because I'm the only one in this room who has the answer. And then I answer it. And she looked at me, she was very shocked. It's like, you just got here, how do you know so much? I proved myself to her. I'm not your former manager. I'm not here to be like, make your life miserable. I'm not here because I'm an empty-headed person who just kissed his way up the ranks and now I'm your manager. These young people who just left school and no, I'm not one of those. I've earned my place. I'm here by merit. I actually will add value to you and to the job, and you will respect me because of that. And eventually I proved myself, and I think we're friends now. Too long the video, wasn't going to make it that long, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say though. If you're ever leading a team, you're probably going to encounter one of these people, and if this adds any value to you, yes, this is exactly what I've done, and I hope that you've learned. Yeah, gotta go back to work. Again, avoid my sunglasses. It's summer. I'm in the house, I'm by the window, and I'm wearing sunglasses, and it's okay. In life, some things are okay just because you can do them.